afternoon, everyone. Gareth Fresh, founder of the World Health Innovation Summit. Delighted to welcome you to our webinar, Road to COP. I have my distinguished guest in the studio here with me. And let me just say that this afternoon's webinar is really to focus on the Great Green Wall of Africa, the Foundation's work, and also COP and the opportunities that are around the corner. Let me introduce my guest. Dina Story is actually in Portugal as we speak, and Joseph Falui, who is in I think it's the east coast of the US at the moment. So let me bring in Dina as a short introduction. And then also, just if you have a question for any of our panelists or for myself today, just please pop it in the chat. Dina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Gareth. I'm really delighted to be here. I'm here from Portugal, where I'm at the Planeteers World Gathering, and we're basically talking about a lot of the topics that we will be gearing up to discuss and talk about at COP28. I've been honored to be part of the team for the Great Green Wall of Africa Foundation. I've sat on the board with Joseph and Her Excellency Rama, and it's been such a labor of love. And what we're trying to do at COP, and we are at the Humanitarian Pavilion for everybody to know. What we're trying to do at COP is actually look at the holistic impact that we can make. So it's not just about environmental. We are presenting the impact from a social perspective, from an economic perspective, and also we're looking at how you empower youth and how you provide the platform for youth. Of course, health, and I think Gareth is going to be talking a lot about that. And then one of the other things I think which is quite unique to what we're trying to bring is the cultural parts, music, art. How does that impact the climate change discussions? How do you express and how do you bring people together to be on the same page when it comes to climate change impact? I'll stop here and I'll revert back to Gareth and Joseph.
Yeah, thanks very much. Maybe Dina, just give the audience a little bit of a scope of your background, just so that they can understand.
Thank you, Gareth. Background is climate and sustainability. I was the director of sustainability for Expo 2020 Dubai. I've been in the region for a long time, but I've also done a lot of projects all across the world. And really, that's it. I'm humbled to be here. My experience is basically just a vehicle to what we're trying to do. So again, anybody who wants to look me up can look me up on LinkedIn, but the reality is my background is to the service of what we're trying to do here.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Dina. Joseph, please, a short introduction for the audience, and please maybe give us a bit of an insight into the GGWoA Foundation as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gareth. I really appreciate it. And Dina, thank you for that wonderful introduction. So my name is Joseph Falui, and I am the Executive Director for GGWoA Foundation, which is the Great Green Wall of Africa Foundation. Of course, just to start a little bit with my background, I've been in the tech industry for about 22 years, and I've had the opportunity to work with a couple of large organizations, both in the manufacturing and in the oil and gas space, leading several initiatives there. But of course, coming back to GGWoA, this is a foundation that is kind of built on the ground of exactly what Dina said, which is really creating direct impact in Africa and trying to see what we do as an organization to improve the lives of millions of people that are living in abject poverty in Africa. And these are things that are caused by the by climate issues in the region. So in regards to what we're doing here at in Dubai at the COP, Dina said it all, but a couple of things that I want to add is that if we look at the theme of this year's COP, COP28, is about taking stock of what we have done since we all signed Paris Agreement to go out and reduce the world temperature by 1.5 degrees Celsius. So this year is really bringing back the success stories, the real things that have happened on the ground to really impact and improve this mission towards the reduction of the world temperature. And besides that, we also want to commemorate the men and women that have done excellently. I mean, because quite honestly, some people have really put everything that they have on the line just to make sure that we achieve the dream and the desire for climate in Africa. And so we want to make sure we commemorate this type of people and kind of show them to the world what they have done and their contribution. And in addition to that, we also want to look at opportunities for the next 7 years. I mean, when we talk about Paris Agreement, you know, the target is 2030. We have about 7 more years to go, and there's quite a lot of things that still needs to be done. So this whole mission, this whole COP is to really figure out what are the action plans that we have to put in place to make sure that we hit the target as we have it planned. So this is kind of what this year's COP is going to look like. And I'm going to stop there, Garrett. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joseph. Dina, let's pop back to yourself. The pre-COP is actually taking place today. I seen Dr. Sultan's comments earlier today, very ambitious, and they're looking at a sprint now, 43% reduction in carbon emissions. We really do need to look at the ambition going forward to COP, don't we? And this is really what the foundation is kind of working to be, a catalyst of ambitious projects. You're very much at the forefront of this. Can you give us an insight into what we can expect from GGWoA, the ambition, the scale of the projects? I mean, I know we have private conversations, but please share with the audience and where do you see this can take us towards 2030?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you. Yes, the pre-COP is going and the ambition is absolutely, bringing people towards that ambition. I feel this COP is very instrumental to not only the global stocktake, but to actually bringing the global south and the global north together. And that is one of the most important things about this COP, is it is held in a place where it's very central to both the global south and the global north. When we talk about some of the projects that we are looking at for GGWoA, there are projects under the foundation, but there are also projects that we are looking at from an innovation perspective as for-profit projects. How do we, as the foundation, support businesses on the ground? How do we support the circular economy? How do we support the renewable energy pillars that Dr. Sultan is talking about? In the regions that we know best, in the regions that we have capabilities to work with the communities on the ground. How do we support indigenous people to realize some of these economic for-profit capabilities that the community frankly needs? When we talk about the Great Green Wall, everybody says, oh, you're planting trees. And yes, of course, planting trees is important. But how do you then create a sustainable, growing community out of this green wall that is being supported by so many people? That is really what's important. So when you look at the innovation hub, for example, at COP, when you look at the work that we're doing at the GGWoA space, it takes into account all of these things. And I think that what's important here is to understand that this is just the beginning of the journey. It's just a COP is 2 weeks and that's it. What do we do after? And that's the part that I think is really important, is the after. It's the legacy of what we are building and what we will be bringing together at COP.
Yeah, and let me go back into Joseph here. Joseph, the after. I mean, Africa has a huge opportunity here to lead. Can you give just some context? I know recently you gave an interview to German TV regarding the background to the Great Green Wall of Africa and the opportunities. And if you look at Africa in the next, by 2030, 42% of global youth will constitute in Africa. The health sector, for example, will be worth about 259 billion by 2030. Huge opportunities for Africa to kind of create these new jobs, green jobs. Can you give context to the GGWoA Foundation, so for people who are tuning in?
Absolutely, Garrett. I mean, it's interesting that you asked this question, because it was one of the things that I was discussing with a colleague just about 2 days ago. I mean, when you think about Africa and you think about the world, I mean, just by sheer looking at the human capacity side of things around the world, like you said, Africa has the largest number of youths, and this will become the next powerhouse for anything in terms of human capital around the world to be able to support a lot of things that are happening that the world is trying to do. Besides that, and when you look at the opportunities in terms of investment opportunity, Africa is an emerging continent, right? There's a huge amount of things. When you look at, the different sectors like education, energy, and power, when you look at housing, when you look at all these areas, even health that we talked about, there's a huge amount of opportunity that is there in Africa. And of course, what we're doing as a foundation is really bringing these opportunities to the forefront so that people can really see it, and also helping folks to navigate. Because of course, when you think about going into Africa, the first thing that everybody talks about is the risk of doing business in Africa. But let me just say it here that doing business in Africa is doing business everywhere else in the world. But particularly an organization like GGWoA, our job is that we've been on the continent for quite some time. We learned the continent, we know the ropes, we know exactly how things work there. So, and that's why it becomes extremely critical to kind of see things, and those some of those things we're going to talk about when we get to COP, and bring them to bear so that people can truly understand the opportunities that are there and how they can navigate it. And these are the things, the values that I think we're bringing to COP for the people that will be there, and the audience that will be watching around the world.
Sure. I mean, we've just lost Dina. Hopefully, she can pop back in. But while we're talking about that, I think that's one of the strengths, isn't it, of the foundation, is the diversity. And perhaps you could tell, we really do have a diverse team, and the kind of discussions that will be at COP, gender equality, women's empowerment, indigenous communities, innovation, energy sector, bringing the arts to cultural. Can you tell us a bit more for those who are willing to join us at COP at the pavilion? What can they expect? I mean, you've been working very diligently over the last endless, shall we say, you're getting very sleepless nights. Can you just share with those who are tuning in what they can expect? Because it's a serious program, isn't it? I mean, you've got some serious colleagues from African Union also joining us.
Yes. No, in fact, I will start by saying that, when the whole idea of COP28 was born, and of course, when we engaged with the whole COP process, one of the mandates that we were given is that this COP is about equality. This COP is about diversity, and of course, and I'm sure that this is the same message that has been passed on to all the other different organizations that are part of this. There is a requirement that is given to all organizations participating in the COP to make sure that there's gender balance, right? Of course, what we're trying to do is a type of climate change where we have equality across the board, from men to women, youth to older folks, and so on and so forth. So for us this year, what we're trying to do is to make sure that we align with that. So if you look at the program that we have currently, you're going to find out that we have women engagement at the COP. Of course, we have a major event that is coming up where we're going to bring women from different walks of life in terms of people that have been instrumental in the climate space. We're going to bring them in. We also have the youth engagement. So we're going to bring in a set of African youths that are impacted by climate and who are diligently working on different initiatives in Africa to come in their own language, in their own voice, to talk about what's going on, what sort of challenges they've had, and what sort of opportunities and the successes that they've had. So at least they can bring this to bear as well. And above and beyond that, there's a whole lot of other things that we're trying to do to make sure that there is indeed diversity in all aspects, not just from humanity perspective, but also in the capabilities that we're going to be bringing. Dina mentioned tech and innovation, which is another big area that we're going to be bringing to the forefront as well. And then, of course, when we talk about all of this and we don't talk about the finance aspect, we're not doing ourselves justice, because the finance aspect is also instrumental. So there's also an aspect of the finance capability that we're going to be bringing into the picture as well, to kind of balance this, because when we embark on the climate change, I mean, there are three key things that are important. One is the mobilization, right? Financial mobilization of financial resources. And then we're talking about also capacity building, and then the technical support. So if you look across the program that we have, you will find out that all of these aspects are embedded in the programs that we're bringing to COP28 this year.
Fantastic. Let me bring Dina back in. We just lost you briefly there, Dina. Are you back with us, or have you? I think you may be frozen. But I was just going to ask you if you could give your perspective. This is a huge opportunity for COP, isn't it? Really around gender equality, women's empowerment. I know you're championing this quite a lot, and perhaps you could tell us what we can expect from the GGWoA pavilion. I think we may have lost the. Let me just talk a little bit. I'll bring Joseph back in, but perhaps there's a question here, and I think this is quite a good one actually. I wonder what the exponential growth of AI can play in accelerating our progress to net zero and improved health outcomes. That's quite an interesting one. I think AI is going to accelerate the process quite quickly. Actually, Dina's back. I think Dina's back. Hold on, I'll pop back. Dina, welcome back.
I'm so sorry. I have, the perfect place for technical difficulties. This is typical, when you want to talk and everything works well beforehand, and now it doesn't work.
Well, now that we have you back, and women's empowerment, that's going to play a huge role. Perhaps you could just tell us a little bit more about that from your perspective. I know you're championing this around the world. We were at UNGA recently. Please give us your perspective on this side. It'd be great to hear.
Absolutely. As Joseph was saying as well, the gender aspect of what we're trying to do is really, really important. We do have some programs related to women empowerment. Even down to women in the tech space, and how they've been working at the grassroots level to provide innovations and technologies, as well as solutions for the communities that they live and thrive in. And then what are the opportunities for women in the climate change space? What are we trying to bring to the forefront? And so this is the work that we want to showcase as part of the work that is instrumental to the Great Green Wall of Africa Foundation. So this is also a really, really good opportunity for, and I will say it's a call to action, for innovators, for women in this space to come and talk to us, come to the pavilion, come talk to us about what you can contribute to, so that we can create a coalition of women that will support each other. Unfortunately, Her Excellency Rahmatullah could not make it to the call because she was sick. But again, this is an institution that is led by a woman. We have an amazing board that is very diverse and with different backgrounds. And I think we want to present the opportunity to women around the world, not only in Africa, to say, look, this is a space where we can all innovate towards the greater good.
Fantastic. And let me just pop back to Joseph. Joseph, when we were in New York, just on side events at UNGA, one of the things that I was very inspired about was agriculture and the drive towards food. And this is certainly something that I think Africa really can grasp, from an agricultural perspective, fertile land. Do you see this? We've covered a lot. We're talking about technology. We're talking about energy. We're talking about waste, social and affordable housing, communities, cities. Just the whole aspect here. Can you give people a further flavor? Maybe you could talk about the discussions we've had with ICLEI in Africa about the cities and the mayors that are going to turn up as well. Is there more detail I'm trying to tease out so you can give the audience a bit more of an understanding of what to expect at COP? Don't be so shy.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting topic, and we've been involved in a lot of projects around agriculture, agribusiness. In fact, last June, we launched a new program, which was officially launched in Niamey in Niger, which was the engagement of the private sector into the GGW, which is the Great Green Wall Initiative. And the reason for that, of course, in order for that to happen, which means in order to engage the private sector, of course, we have to look at this more from an investment and return perspective. And all along, the whole idea of Great Green Wall was to reforest that 8,000 kilometers of land all the way from Senegal to Djibouti, but there was no idea. I mean, it was just general to say that that we're just trying to plant trees to reforest the area, right? And of course, we want to make sure we plant the trees to improve the quality of the land, and of course to sequester carbon as well in the area. But above and beyond that, how do we get the resources and the type of people to support this project? And that was where the idea of engaging the private sector was born. And of course, when we start to talk about private sector and talk about private sector investment, we have to look for ways of having some sort of return as well. So the whole dynamics of just going out to the Sahel to plant trees quickly changed to, let's look for trees that have food crops. Let's look for trees that we can plant that would have produce that we can put back in the market and create an ecosystem, a value chain within that. And that was where the idea of agroforestry and agriculture came into play. And this is the biggest thing that is happening. So right now, what we're doing from a GGWoA perspective is supporting the on-ground projects that are really doing this agriculture and agribusiness sort of initiative in the region to make sure that we can really build this out. As you may know, right, 65% of uncultivated arable land in the world right now is in Africa. I mean, this by no means just tells the story of what opportunities are there from agriculture perspective. And historically, Africa has also thrived on agriculture because that's the foundation source of income and revenue for Africa for a long time, of course, before the likes of oil and gas and all the other things came into the picture. So definitely there is a huge opportunity there, and we're in the forefront of that, working with the local people to try to build this out. But there's just so much more to learn there. We're going to be talking about a lot of that too at the COP this year.
Excellent.
To add to that, yeah, I was going to say, just to add to what Joseph was saying, is looking at regenerative agriculture. How do you regenerate arid lands back to become fertile lands? So that there's so many different topics about biochar. How do you utilize biochar? What is the importance of carbon sequestration as well as land, let's say, remediation? So again, these are the topics that we will be addressing at the Great Green Wall. And this is, Joseph gave amazing examples of what we are already doing on the ground and what the GGW is doing on the ground.
Fantastic. And creating that ecosystem, just let me, we're less than, we're just over a month away to COP. You mentioned there at the start, so what to expect after COP. Do you have any key points for people? Firstly, just on COP itself, for those who are coming, what the expectation should be, and the ambitious targets, and then where do you see the next 12 months and up to maybe 36 months after? Can we achieve the SDGs? Do you think it's doable?
Sorry, can you repeat the question because you froze?
Oh, sorry. I was basically just asking, what do you think comes after COP? You spoke about beforehand. It's an important time. We're only a month away. We need to get these agreements in place. But then, what's your expectations the next 12 months and 36 months? Do you feel that GGWoA can play a pivotal role?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the GGWoA will play an absolute pivotal role because of the experience of the people on the ground, because of the connection to the communities, because of the understanding of what is needed in the region. I think that's quite important. And I heard you mention something about the SDGs and achieving the SDGs. Well, the SDGs, and we all know, are the foundation. So when we talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, we're talking about the foundations. When we talk about the future, we're talking about regeneration. We're talking about growth. So achieving the SDGs is just the beginning. I don't think we're close to that, but I think achieving the SDGs or striving towards that is just the beginning. And I think one of the most important points is that, a lot of people say, well, Mother Earth needs us. No, we need it. And I think you, Gareth, in the health space, you know that more than anybody else. And my suggestion is maybe to talk a little bit about that because we have a few minutes. And to me, that's very important. It's instrumental to what we're doing at the GGWoA.
Hey, look, everyone who knows me who's on this platform will know I could talk about health all day. So I didn't want to really get into that because we've got that session coming up on Wednesday. But I will
Yes.
say a couple of things, around health, and I think it's really important. You'll see there, I'm bringing it up on the screen. Air pollution, from fossil fuels cost, $2.9 trillion in health and economic costs. It's about 8 billion a day. I mean, we're losing about 13 million people a year from environmental factors. But I think what we're trying to do as a group and a collective, and I think this is what's really encouraging for those who are actually, watching this here or watching this on a replay. What GGWoA is and the collective, and this is sort of like around health, is bringing together like people who are bringing solutions to the table, but also capital finance partners. So there's a lot of work, and there's a big team behind the scenes here. Myself, Joseph, Dina, there's Maria, there's Ali, there's other partners, Rama. We're all working and striving together to bring financial capital to support this as well. And that's where the rubber hits the road, if you ask me. I think we've worked very hard over the last few years to establish this and build this bridge into the financial sector. And I'm reaching out to everyone here listening to this from the financial world. Please contact us, investors, family offices, philanthropic donors. We're speaking to these individuals because we want to bridge into that gap to make sure we have a successful pipeline of projects, and we want to be able to deliver the SDGs by 2030. This needs a new way of thinking. And we'll speak a lot more about this on Wednesday's session. And our plan as well within the health sector is to reach into our health colleagues and use our health sector influence to be able to transition to a sustainable, shall we say, financial model for health and well-being. We've been doing this work for many, many years, but now is the time to actually get started. So I hope I've covered that in terms of the health aspect, but there's a couple of minutes left. So I want to bring Dina and Joseph back in, and I'll start with Joseph first. Joseph, just some final words for those who are watching here and we'll replay this as well. Firstly, are you optimistic for Africa and its future? That's that's one of my questions. And then just finally, any final words?
No, absolutely. I'm very optimistic. Of course, when you look at the numbers, in fact, when you look at the Great Green Wall initiative that started way back in 2007, and you look at where we are now, 15 years into it, and we're still under 50% in terms of progress. But the level of aggression that the continent is taking right now, particularly the Sahel, the 11 member countries, the level of aggression in terms of action plan for the next 7 years, of course, because GGW, the Great Green Wall Initiative, also has 2030 targets, so which means we have 7 more years to go. But quite honestly, the influx that we're getting in terms of partnership from international organizations and the level of planning and priority setting that is happening within those member countries, it's really something out of what has happened in the last 15 years of this. So I truly believe that certainly that the goal will be achieved. There is a session that is coming up. I don't know exactly, I can't remember right now, but I think it's sometime in January. We're going to be working hand in hand with the African Union, GGWI, which is the Great Green Wall Initiative, the body that actually oversees the work of the Great Green Wall. They're putting together the next 7-year plan for the Great Green Wall and how we can achieve the target to get to 2030. So this is coming up. If it's going to be an open discussion, I would be more than glad to share it with you, Garrett, and you can share it with others to attend this session as well. But certainly, we're getting all the support that we need right now, and I truly believe that we will hit that target. For us as GGWoA, our main job is to really catalyze and help to facilitate a lot of these plans and the initiatives that are going to be rolled out. And we've been doing that. We connect all the policymakers, we connect people at the grassroots level, and we're working with all the agencies that are supporting this project, like the Pan-African Agency across all the 11 member countries. So I believe that in this sort of synergistic approach or view or some sort of synergistic effort towards this, we can truly achieve the goal that is set out for 2030 for the Great Green Wall Project.
Brilliant. And just lastly, Joseph, where can people find more information?
Yes, there's a lot of information on our website first, which is www.ggwoa.org. There is also a lot of information with AU. I don't know exactly what the URL is, but the African Union Commission, which is called AUC, there's a lot of information that could be found on their website as well. And there's also information that could be found on the Pan-African Agency website. And that's the PAGGW, is the Pan-African Agency for the Great Green Wall. There's also information that could be found on their website as well.
Okay, brilliant. Look, let me give the last word to Dina. Dina, SDG 17, Partnership for the Goals. How critical is that? I mean, we just heard from Joseph. I mean, really, and your final words as well.
Amazing. Yeah, I think, look, the SDG 17, I think cuts across all SDGs. You can't do anything without partnerships, without collaboration. And I think we have built a foundation to do that, not only at COP, but after COP. And what Joseph was talking about, what's happening in January and beyond, is that we have already started thinking beyond COP. We've already started putting the requirements from ourselves beyond COP. As far as COP's concerned, I hope that many of you can join us. We are at the Humanitarian Pavilion, formerly known as the Women's Pavilion at Expo City. And we would love to, our programs are being uploaded on the GGWoA website. And we'd just like to have you there. And as you said, the call to action is, let's collaborate, let's work together for something bigger.
Fantastic, Dina. Look, this has been a fantastic opening kind of pre-COP session. I'll say to everyone, you can join us. We will have a dedicated health session on Wednesday about 1 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, where we'll go into more detail around, emerging threats, emerging opportunities, new models of healthcare, social prescribing, working with our partners on brain health, brain capital, and so on and so forth. I just hope that this session has been informative. As Joseph and Dina have said, you can find out more information, Great Green Wall of Africa Foundation, the links, www.ggwoa.org, hashtag you can use GGWoA. And we're very excited to work with you as we build this new ecosystem going forward. We're very much focused on building trust, being open, transparent, working with, all sectors of society so that we can deliver the sustainable development goals. So I'll close the session. If you have any questions and you want to pop them in the chat after this, we'll do our best to reply to them. But from myself, Dina and Joseph, we've had a great opening session here today, and we look forward to seeing you at COP in a couple of weeks, and most importantly, delivering a sustainable future for all. So thanks, everyone, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.